Hi there, my name's Darrell, it's great to see you and welcome to Old Man Cycling. So today is Saturday and it'll be 7 weeks on Tuesday since my gallbladder operation, and I'm pleased to say that I'm pretty much fully back to fitness. Now this morning's going to be my first time getting back out on the bike. I have done some exercise on my exercise bike in my spare room, so I've started to build my fitness back up again, but I've not actually been out on the road, so this is going to be my first time. So come along and join me, let's get cracking. So this morning I'm going to take it fairly easy. I'm not going to do a long ride. I'm just going to start to try and get back into riding properly, because my fitness will have definitely dropped over the last couple of months while I've not been riding. Now, the operation went really well. I was really pleased with how efficient the staff at the hospital were. I went in at 7 o'clock in the morning. I was seen by a nurse by 7 past. Everything was checked off, blood pressure and forms filled out and all of that kind of thing. And then by 7 past, I was changed into my surgical gown. I'd seen the surgeon and the anaesthetist, and by 8 o'clock I was walking down to the theatre, and it was just really efficient. I woke up at about 11:30 with the operation complete, was back on the ward. I had some tea and toast, and by 12 o'clock I felt fit to leave. Now they wouldn't let me leave until 2 o'clock because they had to observe me for a couple of hours. But I was back home, sitting outside by 4 o'clock, and there was a little bit of pain, but virtually none. I was really shocked. And now, over the next few weeks, it took a little bit of recovery. I just had to be careful. But on the whole, other than a few slight bits of discomfort, there was virtually no side effects at all. And the best part about it is I can now pretty much eat what I want. It's not affected me in the slightest, and I've gone back to eating completely as I used to before. Now obviously I've kept some of the habits that I picked up while I was on the low-fat diet because it's a healthy way to live, but I have also had a few blowouts as well. That's another reason for getting back out on the bike, to just make sure I don't pile on too much weight. But so far that hasn't happened. Now if this is your first time visiting the channel, then you can do me a really big favour and click the like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because that way you stay up to date with all of my future releases and it really helps out the channel. Now I'm sure I remember saying in my last video that was filmed probably nearly 8 weeks ago how the weather was starting to turn colder. Well, that was nothing compared with this morning. This morning we're about 5 degrees Celsius, so I need my long gloves and my hat on this morning because it's a bit nippy. But as the ride progresses, I'm sure I'll warm up a little bit. I'm not too bad at the moment. I've got just the right amount of clothing on to feel comfortable, not too cold and not too warm, and that's quite important when you're cycling, because if you feel cold it's miserable, and then if you feel too warm it just makes things harder work than it needs to be. So as of yet I would say I've made good choices. Now, another reason for getting out on the bike this morning is we're going out for a pub lunch this afternoon, and I'm guaranteed to have a big feed because it's 3 courses for £20. You can't get much better value than that, and all the courses are massive, so I'm not going to need any tea. The weather really is lovely at this time of year. We've got low sun, and obviously we're only in mid-autumn, so it's not as low as it's going to be because we're just at 9:05 in the morning. But there's also a little hint of mist in the air, so it's just picking up the sun rays as it comes through the trees, so it's quite magical. But you do have to just bear in mind when there is low sun about your visibility to other motorists, especially because with the sun being low, quite often that can take a motorist's eye off you, and so using lights and high vis, in my opinion, is really important. Even in the daytime, to have your lights on is really quite crucial, and wearing something that allows you to be seen. I do see a lot of cyclists wearing all black. Now that might be quite trendy, but it's not very safety conscious. It's your choice at the end of the day what you wear, but I prefer to be safe and be seen. I've just come over a set of crossroads, and unfortunately I wasn't recording at the time, but it does highlight how important it is to ride defensively as a cyclist, because I was going straight on at the crossroads and a car was coming towards me turning right, so I had the right of way, but the car had no intention of slowing down, and I had to put the brakes on and lock up the back wheel to avoid being hit by the car. So it just goes to show it pays to be cautious when you're riding as a cyclist. Because it was such a lovely morning and I was close to the canal, I decided that I would head off and travel down along the towpath. And it was a really gorgeous ride, riding alongside the water. Now I did just have to be careful a few times because the path was quite rocky, and on a few occasions the bumpiness of the path nearly did tip me off, and I did have to just be careful of the mooring posts down there on the left hand side because they jumped out almost from nowhere and sometimes hidden in grass, so you just had to be very careful going past those. And some of these banks on the side of the lock were very steep and quite slippery, and so occasionally I got off and pushed the bike. So on this one that's coming up just here by this bridge, I definitely got off on this one because it was just so steep and I just didn't fancy falling off. These stones are quite rough though. Blimey. Oh gosh. Not the smoothest path under there. So I'm about 4 miles away from home at the moment, and by the time I get there I think I probably will have done about 17 miles. So not the longest of rides, but it will have taken about an hour and a half. And so as a first ride back after a while, I think that's about okay, because I have still got to hose the bike down a little bit and have a bit of a clean after going across that towpath by the canal, and I've got to get myself ready for my big pub lunch, so I'll check in with you when I get home.
Back at home, and as I expected, the ride did last 17 miles and I feel pretty fresh. If I hadn't got time constraints today, I think I could definitely have gone farther with no ill effects. But I can say that I am now fully recovered from my operation. I might not be back to complete fitness as I was before the operation, but that's because I've had 7 weeks off without a great deal of exercise. But that should come back fairly quickly because I don't feel that I've struggled today at all, and I've not used the motor on the bike. So that's all great news. Now, if you have enjoyed today's video, then you can do me a really big favor and click the like, subscribe and the bell notifications, because that way you stay up to date with all of my future content and it helps the channel to grow. You can also leave me any comments about this video or any questions you have down below, or go over to my Facebook account and I'll link that down below in the description as well. But all that's left now is say stay tuned, look out for next time's video. It's been great to OMC you, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Oh dear. Squirrel just jumping out in front of me there. I've not can't talk. It's 2 years old since I started the channel. Wow, 2 years old since I started the channel. What am I talking about, you knob?